Hello and welcome back to another episode of Notion Bonsai, and in this video we're going to be doing a tour of Xavier's bonsai garden.
Hi, I'm Xavier Martinez. I've been doing bonsai for about 25 years now. I have a YouTube channel called Xavier's Bonsai Retreat, and I'd like to take you around the garden and show you some of the trees. The first one, if anyone who knows me, when I was first started bonsai in 2000, I bought 20 large saplings, and this is one of a group that you'll see in the garden, and this is called the Old Man. It has survived football, it's survived cricket balls, so that's where all the natural damage has occurred. Look at that root there.
Oh yeah, you're getting some surface risk going.
Lovely, because what I've done this year is put on a great big, much bigger than this, wrapped it in, and I'm going to try and reproduce a larch. So
In sphagnum?
I've wrapped sphagnum around it across the rock, and it's just going to need 2 or 3 years leaving it in position.
Yeah.
This maple actually came courtesy of my sister, and it originally had a great big branch that came out. And if you move it slightly that way, you can see the branch made actually a very, very nice tree, so it didn't have all this.
Oh, right, okay.
When I got it, that had all died back, and it's really a story of recovery, this thing.
Yeah, that's a nice feature in the front.
I actually didn't realise how much that was rotting, so I ended up, my first use of the Dremel was digging right down and then sealing it, and now I'm just slowly rebuilding it.
And then more larches here, I can see.
Yeah, everyone loves larch. It's probably one of the best beginner trees.
Yeah, for sure.
This year I added 2 more to it. It was originally just 3. Such lovely green, vibrant colours.
Yeah, and I like how amongst these you've got just, something like this, just a little bit of fun.
I was going to talk about, there's someone in my church group who has loads of sycamores growing, and he'll always bring me in some. And I was only out here the other week, and it was dead ramrod straight, and I thought all that really needs a bit of wire to get just a little bit of movement. And
this is sycamore?
Sycamore. And what I love about that is the leaves are normally like the size of my hand.
Yeah.
And I'll wait till they get that size, cut them all off, and then you'll get that lovely small growth there, and then they look fantastic for about 3 weeks. My new prize collection, it's not one I've built, but it's a crab apple, and I've finally got one, and It's still got flowers just on it.
Oh yes, it's the last one.
Yeah. I bought this when it was probably about half the size and half the thickness 12 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And I saw the cloud larches that people were doing, and I thought I might try and build one. And it's taken so long, but I've now just started getting those pads developing, so you've got that nice radiating ramification. Same with here and here, and it's just this moment now really, really starting to look good. And about the only thing I'd love is if I could get that trunk a lot thicker, but the only way that's going to happen is if I put it back into a growing bed. The Maori Celeste, it's another larch.
Oh yeah.
And it reminds me of the raking sort of the old sails and yachts. So
this is triple trunk?
Yeah. Again, I love, it's like the pot. You look at the pot. Really unusual. The tree's unusual. And the big thing about bonsai, I think, is it's there's no rules. There is no rules. It's what you like. And I love this one. This is one of my favourites.
Did you build this one from scratch?
It was dug up in Wales in 2015. Most of that wasn't here. It was a great big bush like this.
Yeah.
So slowly brought it back. Got this one here. Well, I called it Lucinda Larch, and it's in a Dawn Isaac ceramic. She's a brilliant potter. But the reason why I love this is I took this down when I went down to visit Herons, and one of the bonsai clubs was opening up, and Peter Chan came along, and this branch here was originally straight up like that. It was like a V. And I don't know why I liked it previously. And he said, no. He says, all you need to do, and he took hold of it and just pulled it straight down.
Yeah.
And it's like, my 24-year-old tree, and I was actually so scared. But
and then after 24 years, it stayed nice and flexible?
Yeah, oh gosh, yes.
That's brilliant.
And there's still...
Just shows you, larches are still... They don't really harden.
I think that's the one thing I'd say, certainly about larch, is that, they don't really need raffia. They have so much flexibility for so long. Love them. This one is one of a pair. When my wife died in 2020, she said to me, whatever you do, make sure that you get yourself 2 really signature trees that you can proudly show off when people enter the garden. This is one of 2 Chinese elm on rock. And again, they were absolutely wild, and all I did is I stripped them right back to just the bare branches and have rebuilt all this structure here.
Yeah. I love how the roots just... Is this 2 trees?
No, it's...
There's 1 tree?
Oh, hang on. There's If you look further down, that's a lot of this is actually, I think, the roots. So it's almost like a root cutting.
Yeah, really interesting structure.
But it is.
And you got good ramification on the top, just
But all that I end up building myself. I just kept up with Chinese elm, especially if they've imported and the cheaper ones that you can get hold of. Always take it back to that base trunk, the base branch, and then rebuild the whole structure as you want it. And it happens so quickly. Go on, you want to see this?
Oh yeah, okay, what is this?
Elderberry.
Oh, okay.
And it's still a challenge for me, but I've had elderberry flowers on it.
I like the bark.
And that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
And I'm desperately still trying to find out if I can make a bonsai out of it.
Is this the same as elderflower, right?
Yes.
I make the cordial every year from the flower.
And elderweed. But it's a challenge. I love challenges. I got an amazing challenge from someone in the US, and I hate, to be honest, these little peewee pots. I think they're ridiculous, really difficult for bonsai, and I think that's why I don't like them, because I've got big fat thumbs. But he challenged me to put something in this tripod. I found a little ash, and look at that, doesn't that look gorgeous? In that little pot there.
Little tiny bonsai.
Yeah.
I like
But
it.
the only way I could achieve that is because when I did the root pruning, I accidentally cut all the roots off.
And I know ash like lots of water, so that must be just keeping it in this tray, keeps that nice and hydrated.
The minute I went for doing something like this, all of these have just thrived, absolutely thrived. Back in 2016, I went to a habit of buying sort of 10 larches, 10 Italian alders, 10 Scots pines, and these two are a couple of them. And they went into growing beds for a year or two. Should have done it a lot longer. But now, 10 years further on, the candle growth on them, all very uniform and equal. And it's just, I just love coming out and looking at them when they're like this.
I can even see cones on this Japanese larch here, so this is a really mature tree.
That's 25 years old.
Wow.
Got wired in the winter.
Yeah, for the first time?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
so for the 25 years, you just have it in a pot, just getting strong?
It's like the other ones I bought, it was one of 20. It was just sitting in a plant pot. I didn't really know what to do with it. So when I don't know what to do with things, I normally leave them in the corner of the garden. And inspiration will come along generally. I think one of the most wonderful things about doing bonsai, especially nursery plants, is you find the stuff that flowers, and generally you won't find other people doing it.
Yeah.
And an example of that is this here.
Oh.
Which is actually it's two sages, to be fair.
Uh-huh.
But look at the flowers on that. And
Wow. So this is just like the herb?
yeah,
The sage?
If you
A sage bonsai?
you smell the leaves,
Yeah.
it's sage. And you can always tell sage because it almost looks like skin
Yeah.
when you look at the leaf pattern.
Very
But
nice.
I love that.
That's definitely a unique one.
Eventually, I'll probably take that second one away and just have a literati style sage. I had this Katsura maple, again, it's something I found in a nursery. It was about 3 foot standing upright. I wired it initially, I was going to do a cascade for it. Never sat right. So I had someone, Andy from Bonsai Crazy, who makes incredible pots. Andy said that he could make a pot that would suit this tree. And this is what we ended up with. Now I've also put one of my air layer Katsuras in there and just a little Chinese elm at the front. The only reason the rocks are there is because the birds love it, they just dig it to pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then I've also very, very recently had a great big old wisteria down the bottom of the garden. And I wanted to know whether or not I could Yamador, Galden, Dory it. And if you look here, you've just got the new shoots starting to come out. And the brown
it's
buds.
Definitely alive. I
Mean
think
it's alive, and we'll see.
especially with
action.
trees like this, I find like people can think like, oh, that's dead, if they find a stump where you can just easily take it, get
Yeah.
it growing.
Very rare, to be honest. It's very rare for stuff to die. I think certainly from my experience. I was brought up in Australia, so one of my children found this, and this is how I know whether or not it's good enough for doing bonsai. Fair dinkum Aussie barometer. So right now it's standing just off to the right, so it's windy. And then again, I'm spoilt for garden size. Down here around the paved area here, sometimes it's easy to forget what's in here. There is so much, whether it be, I love at the moment, about 3 or 4 years ago, I went through a haze of doing about 10 roots on rocks. And I've done 5 or so trident maples and 5 Chinese elms. Again, put an oak on a rock as well. I think it's lovely being a UK bonsai artist. It's wonderful to be able to use our own native species. You don't see a lot.
And they
of
probably
oaks.
do a lot better here than
They love
something
the
imported, right?
climate. It's another trident root over rock. And I think although this isn't, a spectacular bonsai yet by a long way, what it does represent is my wife, before she died, took some seeds from an apple. We were up on holiday in Stronsay and grew it from seed. And she'd always said to me, "You're never ever going to bonsai that. I'm not letting you," because I loved all this, all this roots here.
Lots of character in that one.
And
Look
I
at
didn't
them.
know where the brick came from, and I had to wait, bless her, until she died. It took me 6 months, and then I thought, no, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a legacy tree for her
Lovely.
memory.
That's
And
really
it's
nice.
slowly doing well. Gosh, I'd forgotten about this one. Again, there's so much of this. Again, it's not remarkable, but I learned how to air layer from my garden cherry tree, just a common prunus. And I had an old plant pot, cut it in half. I got some garden dirt, a knife, did the old cut around, because that's what I heard you have to do,
Yeah.
and then whacked it on, and then left it. And 3 months later, had a look,
And it rooted right
and it
into
was
soil.
totally rooted, and I
Wow.
get beautiful big flowers, and on top of that, I've even eaten the cherries off it.
Amazing.
And this is what you can do. This is why bonsai isn't for those who've studied in Japan or anything like that. It's not to say you can't. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And you can do it with whatever tree you've got around you. That's what I love. There's always something in your garden or someone's. I've got a brilliant neighbour, and she's got Japanese maples there, and tomorrow or later I'm actually going to take a couple of air layers off there. But she lets me go around to her house.
Yeah.
And just
You got a nice neighbour.
4 or 5 air layers. It makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
This is my first ever attempt at root over rock. I'm really
That is a
proud
really
of
good
that.
attempt.
And no one had told me anything or what to do. All I did is found myself a nice interesting rock, and originally the soil was up to there.
Yeah.
And what's even better is that was a cutting that I took off one of my Chinese elms. So it's about
Amazing.
12, 13 years old, totally from scratch. And the only thing
Wow.
that isn't my making is the lovely Dawn Isaac ceramic.
Yeah, I think that pot pairs really nicely with that.
It does, but that's again, I had no skills or knowledge at all then. I just thought, oh, I'll have a go.
It really surprises me from watching your videos how big your garden is. Like seeing it here now in person. Like look at, like there's so much behind you.
I suppose it is deceptively big. I didn't think of it as a big garden. I'm lucky that I've had so many spaces and areas, and on top of that, again, I'm able to use all of them for different parts of bonsai. And this is normally absolutely littered with trees. In fact, the only reason it's not is because you were coming. This is what I'm going to be working on for my next video.
We're going to do some air layering on the ginkgos. It's going to be real fun.
I think one of the things that has really taken me up to the next level is I've actually had the courage to purchase what's really quite expensive stock. And this Chinensis juniper.
Itoigawa?
I'm not going to say Itoigawa because where I bought it, they couldn't be sure, but I'd almost guarantee it is.
Yeah, that is.
And I bought it because of this incredible trunk. But I'm going to have so much fun. We're going to be taking some air layers off it, rebuilding the entire internal structure, and the tree is going to be half the width and size. But for me, it's the first proper of the next on from learning juniper, which for me has always been a bit more of a challenge. We were just talking about the fact that it's rare for stuff to die, but stuff does die, and you've got to be willing and ready to accept that. This is what they call a tanuki.
Yeah.
And it's the first tanuki I'd ever attempted.
Wow.
And it's a corkbark elm stock with a Chinese elm cutting whip. The corkbark elm was absolutely beautiful, but just died. We had a really bad summer a few years back. So I used my Dremel, created the channels, and I think you can create tanukis how you like, but traditionally the best way is to create the channels, feed the whip into it, and then it expands, and then it becomes part of the tree. And I think if you can see there now, we've got branches growing on it, and again, it's something that I've attempted for the first time, and I'm really, really happy with it. Here's something. There was a really, really fun and influential bonsai artist, Tony Higginson, who had a channel, Tony's Bonsai, and he took some incredible photographs. And one of the photographs he took was of a silver birch group on a moor, and it was just on its own. So I decided to do a sort of a photograph challenge. And so I've got these 4 silver birches. It's been growing now for 2 years. Then there's always the frustrating projects, an English oak. When I got it, it didn't have any branches on it at all. It was just a 3-foot stump with nothing else.
Wow.
And I got it for £40 on the used bench at Greenwood's. No idea what I was going to do, so it stayed in a great big bucket, and I thought, well, I need to grow some branches. So I grow this branch, and they grew out to about 3 or 4 foot long, and then slowly, this is it. This is the process of how you build a bonsai. Once they were at the right thickness, cut them back, and we've got this lovely crown that's growing. But the problem I've got, some branches do like to die, so you have to keep rebuilding stuff. And this was the second Chinese elm root over rock. If you probably guessed, I love Chinese elms. That is just absolutely awesome on that. And again, I rebuilt the entire branching on this from the basic structure. In this garden there's absolutely loads of Chinese elms, all from cuttings. Anything that's come from those big stores is that you don't know how long they've been in the packing crates for, you don't know what the root structure's like. It's always been packed so that it would survive a 6-month journey. And normally the first thing you need to do is get it out of that packing material.
It's like in pure compost sometimes.
So often when you get them and you get to enjoy them, they're already half dead. So you all sit there and go, oh, I've killed a bonsai, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's not you that's killed the bonsai.
It's
probably already half dead.
Yeah. Do you like the gamble of getting it cheap and then trying to get it
that's the
alive?
challenge. I mean, and the good thing is with the Chinese elm is that you literally do cut it right back to your trunk and then it will just bud all over, and then you pick whichever, there's a little one coming up there. You pick exactly what you want.
A little tiny one.
And they grow very, very quickly. Corkbark elm, and there was a video I did last year with Yellow of growing bonsai, and he actually saw this one and said, oh, no, this would make a great tree, and he held it up to me and says, imagine if that way, with just a single trunk up the middle there, that would be a fantastic tree.
Yeah.
And what you won't know is that this had 3 or 4 other branches, a great big heavy thing. That's going to be air layered, that's going to be air layered, that's going to be air layered.
And just for beginners that's watching, what's the difference between a normal elm and a corkbark?
It's the bark.
Yeah, of course.
It literally does, it corks over really rough.
Yeah, almost like a pine.
Yeah, it's like a black pine or something like that, and it looks different. But in terms of the growth habits, it's exactly the same as a Chinese elm. Yeah, but I've never done an air layer on a corkbark elm, so I imagine it's not going to be a problem. And I know I mentioned I did a sort of 10 or 11 different root over rock, and a lot of them are down here: Trident maple, Chinese elm, and these are now 3. This is the 3rd year, so they were 2 years completely covered, and I started uncovering them last year. I mean, look at this one. This one's got that lovely great roots all there clinging onto that rock.
So how long do you think from just a normal tree to a root over rock, how long would it take?
I've always said you need 5 years.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, I've got really good videos on root over rock, but you've got to find the rock it's got to have at least 1 or 2 crevices. And yes, you can wrap them round, but it takes even longer. Get a couple of those crevices. Well, as you know, you wrap some raffia around it, and then you just got to bury it deep. So it's right over, all rocks covered.
Normal bonsai soil?
I've done, to be fair, I've done it in just straightforward soil, but I'll use normal bonsai mix, because you want that free drain. You don't ever want it to get all claggy. And what you've got to learn to do is be patient. And the minimum I do is leave them for 2 years. And then on the 3rd year is when I'll start to just pull apart, because you need to investigate whether or not the actual roots have gripped, because sometimes they don't, so you've got to reapply them. This area here was originally Zita's vegetable garden, but I think it makes a much better nursery beds for bonsai. I decided last year to show just how trees grow and develop if you put them into nursery beds, and all of these trees are on slate plates, and literally the roots are probably only a couple of inches below the surface there. And I've been doing an ongoing series showing the development and how differently they develop from ones that weren't. And the way I did it, these two, we've got this one here, which is in a plastic pot. Well, that was in a plastic pot 2 years ago, and they were both recovered at the same time, and they are roughly the same age. And already, obviously, the trunk girth difference, but it's incredible to see the different growing patterns. A week ago I did a heavy prune. These were right up here. They've all been heavy pruned. That's one of the things you've always got to keep on top of. Even growing beds, you need to be aware of whether you want to keep the branches here because you want them to grow out, but making sure you get rid of everything lower down so energy only goes where you want it. I found in the ground they put out lots and lots more shoots from the trunk, lots of side. There was a lot of heavy growth here as well as some from the top, whereas this just put mainly growth on the main trunks.
For anyone that's watching, why would you plant in the ground?
The main reason for planting in the ground is to get your trunk thickness up.
Yeah.
Or if you've recovered a tree, in fact this is the ideal example, if you've recovered a tree from the wild, it would have had this great big long central trunk. I've chopped it back and I want these 2 branches here to grow long, big and thick so they can heal that. If I don't want that trunk to be any bigger, I still need these branches here to be at least half the size, so proportionally wise.
So you can get taper in a much shorter time too.
What a wonderful word that is, taper. I just thought that was an animal. But it's the first year that I've actually put all these jades or portularis out here. And the reason why they come here is because I want to be able to control the amount of water they get. What happens, we get a great dumping of rain. So then I don't water these for 2 or 3 weeks. But normally they're indoors. But again, it's the challenge of can I truly make a decent looking bonsai out of what is...
I think this one has a really good structure. You got going from thick, thinner,
Oh, that's a good example of taper, isn't it?
There you go, it's taper.
Perfect. And again, there's one there, slowly building.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting root at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Just a little gap.
It's all about challenging yourself.
Is this Portulacaria afra?
That one might be, yeah, looking at the leaves. I always, to be honest, get a little bit mixed up between the two of them, but they're indoor plants, that's what I call them. If you want something that's easy to grow and easy to care for, you can't go far past the jade, because cuttings wise, you just stick a branch straight into the soil and it'll root on its own, no special care. And if you forget to water it, it's even happier with you. And I think, as you can probably see, Adam, every inch of space has either got growing beds, bonsai, or something squatted in there somewhere. I mean, down here, I've got a mixture of Japanese maples, trident maples, basically those here, all trying out the pond baskets, which I think work wonderfully for root development. And they've been in there for 2 or 3 years now. I mean, I've got these, the Japanese maples, and all of these, I've got about 150 as little 1-year-old seedlings back in 2014. And they're slowly all spread around the garden at different stages. And beside it, look at this. Trident maple, pond basket to get greater root development, looking for a nice circular radial root base. I've also got them on slate as well, so we can get that really nice firm footprint. So all down here, I've got plans for putting benches all the way down this side here, so that I can have more room. Because one day I actually want to get a dog, which sounds funny.
What kind?
The next thing I want to get a boxer.
All right.
Because I've had 2 boxers as I've grown up, and yeah, I miss the old boxers. The railway bed nursery, my son and I built this out of railway sleepers. And again, this was originally going to be nursery beds, but as you see, we've got more of those maples in pond baskets. Some of them are doing better than others, but all interesting shapes and things. A lot of cuttings and stuff are in here. I'd never seen this species until I've got a whole pile of them in 2016, the little saplings. This was a 2-year-old sapling, and it's not there yet, but this is the first year where I've looked at it and gone, actually, I think I can start to make a tree out of this.
Yeah, it's getting a good structure. And this is Italian alder.
Italian alder. And very, very hardy, very, very forgiving, and very, very easy to work as a bonsai. Very easy.
Would you say it's a good one for beginners?
Oh, definitely. You know, if you can't get Japanese larch, I'd almost say in terms of ease of cultivation, and it grows so quickly, and you've got all the lovely leafing that happens. You can prune this 2 or 3 times a year, so it grows quite quickly as well. I think one of the interesting things is there's so much of the tree you don't have to waste. And everyone says when you do repots, you cut all the roots off and then they get forgotten. Well, this English elm, interesting, this is entirely the root from an English elm further up that I discarded before repot. And I just thought I'd throw that in soil, no special preparation. It's a nice free draining bonsai mix. And look at that.
So when you took this out, it had no leaves at all?
No leaves, it was literally just another bit of discarded root that you would normally throw away. And it's even starting to bark up really rough.
Oh wow.
So it won't be that much longer before you wouldn't even think it's the root. You don't need to spend loads of money. A lot of my stuff has grown up in dishwashing buckets like this.
Yeah.
And even until 4 or 5 years ago, the soil I used was normally some grit, and then I'd get some sort of common compost or something from the garden centre, whatever was cheap at the time. And if I could afford to, I'd get some the old cat litter or some sort of diatomaceous earth.
Or molar clay.
Molar clay, that's the word.
Yeah.
Here's a tip. Don't ever try to bonsai red oak. I'm sure there's somebody who say they can. I mean, that's a red oak.
Yeah.
But the problem is they have these massive great leaves that never ever reduce.
Oh, right, okay.
The English oaks, I can reduce them, but they also don't ramify very well at all. And as soon as it starts growing up, everything else dies. There's probably, if you said, is there any tree that's beaten me? Probably red oak has beaten me. Here further in, if we look here, we've got this incredible hawthorn, and I was lucky enough that Tony Higginson passed this on for me to keep going, and he did an experiment where he basically split it in 4 all the way up the trunk to get these extreme bends in. I remember laughing at the time when he did it, but now...
Yeah, you see the results?
It's incredible, it's so unusual, but it's just like split open. But this is going to be an incredible project as well.
Yeah.
He also put together what we call this triple trunk Zelkova. The reason why he wanted to make sure I had it is because I used to joke that I couldn't tell the difference between Zelkova and Chinese elm, and I didn't have any Zelkova in my collection. So he put 3 together.
Big clump style, and have they fused and everything?
Fused together totally.
Wow.
And I've had it in this pond basket. I already know the root structure under there.
I think I remember when you got this, it was at the extravaganza, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Just you got it at the auction?
Yeah. In fact, while we're talking about some of Tony's trees, I must show you. I did win at a raffle. I've never won much on a raffle, and I won a big...
Oh, this was the raffle tree?
Silver birch forest. I split them all up in the end, and we've got something like this with this beautiful movement. There's another one there. Again, that same, the taper's coming down. It's really interesting as well.
That's from the same forest?
Yep. Most people associate bonsai with Chinese elm, and I can understand why. And it's the first bonsai that I purchased and killed. In fact, I killed 3 Chinese elm in the first few months of doing it. And that was mainly because I didn't realise they're technically an outdoor tree. But all of the ones that are here, they started off, I think, here's an example. This was one that I bought for £25 in 2017, and I've taken copious numbers of cuttings off this one and others like it that I bought. And from this, we've got things like this.
This is from the same tree?
That's from that. That'll be from that or the tree behind it.
So how many years did this take to develop?
That took six years.
That's not bad. And it probably would have been faster if you put it into something big, right?
Yeah. I mean, because I've got so many of them, I tend to keep them. There's more here.
From the same tree?
That's from the same tree. And that's free. And but that is better than that.
Yeah, because it's got more structure and it's got probably a better root flare going on under there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. A lot of work's been done on the roots. Even here with the cuttings, that was a cutting as well from it.
The same tree?
Same tree.
Wow.
And that one was put into a bed. Yeah. And it's been on a rock as well. So
I mean, I've taken a cutting maybe this thin, and it's got to this thickness in just 2 years.
Yeah.
Like it's very quick.
They really grow thick. And the other thing is you can take cuttings that are that thick.
Yeah.
And just poke them in the ground.
It just works?
Yeah. I normally, I'll put 10 in, and I might get 2, 3, maybe 4 that'll root. So they are pretty successful with that. Coming through here, I think actually I showed you here, either side, were the wisterias. And that one died, and it was on this side that I actually dug up. And I tell you that they're weeds. That has grown from, there was probably a little bit of root stock left over down the bottom. The trees have gone, but the root's still there. They really do.
So they just keep coming up?
They just keep coming on and on. They are like weeds. But the reason why I got rid of them is because all the tendrils were going all over the bonsais here. So the silver birch and the Japanese white pine. This was going to be my original working area and where I was going to do all my filming. And originally, I'd say, we had, it was brilliant. I did a crowdfunding, and loads of people from the community donated money. So we've got here, D&C Corner. All of them are benches that are being by other people. We've got JC Gems Jewels, Joe Garner and his wife, they paid for that bench. We've got Susan's Sanctum, she's from America. I think that's Nellie's Nook. Nellie Williams. And Tree Beards has fallen on the ground. Really great bloke from Australia paid for this one here. So I'm going to have to find the little label, but yeah. So I got all these paid for, which I'm ever so grateful for, but also this. I've got a covered area where I can sit and actually do my bonsai videos. When I was first introduced to bonsai, this chap turned up with 20 Japanese whips, which I bought off him, and you've seen some of the trees. He mentioned that there are other varieties of trees, and I had absolutely no idea about bonsai. And like any novice, I thought, I went to a shop and I saw this Japanese white pine. It was half the size. Look at it, in those beautiful flowers all over it.
Is this the first time it flower?
It normally flowers, but it doesn't normally have this many flowers on it.
Must be really healthy.
Either that or it's trying to send out loads of seeds because it's going to die.
And it doesn't even look grafted. Do you know if it is grafted or, oh yeah, you can see the colour.
Yeah.
It must be grafted, but it's a really nice one. You don't even know.
When you look at the grafts of some of the white pines, they're really obvious, but this is just beautiful. But I paid the grand total of £50 for this in 2002. And what's even better is, although people talk about pines being a really difficult tree or difficult to get on with, this spent its first 10 years sitting in the bottom of my garden, completely left alone, while I was the neighbour I went to see. I didn't touch it, I didn't feed it, didn't do anything to it. And another 5 years after that wasn't that much different. And look at it now. It's only the last sort of 5 or so, 6 years where I've started doing a bit more wiring, a bit more pad placement. Yeah. But say it's twice the size, which does bring me to the first ever. So that was the first ever tree I bought. Second one at the same time. I didn't realise this is something called a Korean hornbeam. Wow. And I love this really, really interesting root structure. My goodness. And
did this pot come with it, or is this your...
No, this is another. If you notice, a lot of my pots, they come from Dawn Isaac, brilliant local ceramicist. So I put that pot in with it. But yeah, it's a Korean hornbeam, and it's been with me since 2002.
Wow. And you can see, compared to the normal hornbeam, the Korean one's got these lovely small leaves.
Yeah, but again, it's very unique, and I like unique and sort of, they're a bit off kilter. You know, you'll have some people say, oh, then there's no good barrier. All these roots need to come off. You need to air layer and create a root base. I think when you talk about the professionals and the ones who've grown up and see that, I don't know, what do you call it, art, or whether you call it
A craft.
a craft, that's a good word, then maybe there is a place for that. But do you know what? I'm a hobbyist. I've been doing this for 25 years and I love things like this. And if anyone says to me that's not natural, I just point. I think my favourite, if you want to come around here, I love playing around with different forests, and I like putting animals or creatures. And I created, I think there's 20 odd oak saplings. They're all about between 8 and 9 years old now. And I love trying to create those sort of as natural as possible forest scenes.
And this was all from seed?
No, these were out of my sister's front garden.
Oh, right.
So I went down to Horsham and she had a load of these, and they were little thin oak whips, and I just dug them all up. I very recently got into carving, and it's different things you go on. You know, you get a bit worried about getting a great big drill or whatever. And I had a big stump, privet stump, and I've been able to practice carving skills. And you know, it's another thing. There's so many different areas of bonsai.
Did you whiten this too? Or has it been preserved with anything?
I used a deadwood preserver.
All right. Like a hardener or something for this kind?
No, it's more linseed oil.
Oh, right, yeah.
A little mixture of natural oils. So, and that, if it's hard as.
So this probably would have been a hedge or something before, or yeah.
Yeah, a bit of, I think it's a weed in Australia or something.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to, I don't think you're allowed to sell it or plant them.
Wow, okay.
They are considered a weed, I'm sure.
You can even see at the bottom, it's back budding, it's sending out the suckers.
Yeah, which is, you've got to be careful and get rid of those.
Yeah.
Because otherwise all that energy.
You can take over.
Yeah. In there, you've just got to make sure that you don't get bitten by spiders and stuff like that.
Well, in Australia, maybe?
But it's a brilliant challenge. Again, you see it there with silver birch. That was rotting inside, so I've carved out all the rot, hardened it. I practiced there with super glue. And someone said it's a great way of keeping all those spikes and that, but it turns it white. So I wouldn't recommend using super glue.
Yeah. I always find with the silver birch, they do die back a lot. It's just one of the habits.
If you have a look, these branches were all flat, or were all beautifully leafing last year, and then we've got here, for no reason, I don't know why, we've got death there. But they still bud. It's like, if you look here, that branch was a goner last year, and then for some reason we've suddenly put a shoot out at the end. So a lot of the time I wait 2 years before I cut any branches off.
Yeah, or you do the scrape test.
Even the scrape test, they defy the scrape test sometimes. Yeah, I've scraped back and thought that's dead, and it'll do that.
These are lovely boxes.
Yeah,
really nice.
It's learning that, I always thought the bucks just grew at the same rate as the privet. And yet they're two entirely different grow rates. The privet will just go nuts. Whereas with these, the bucks, I find that what you've got to do is let them go and wait until you get into the summertime.
Yeah.
And then prune them.
But this has started off like a blob, the big dome sort of one. That's what this would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the one beside it the same.
I think I got those two for £5, and you can just go to town with them, and you can learn so much skills on them. So long they don't get any noxious problems with them, because in the UK we can have a problem with
the blight, the box blight.
The box blight, Escallonia.
Oh, what is Escallonia? I've never heard of this.
This is a common UK garden shrub, and this was a big 3-foot bush, branches everywhere.
Okay, I've seen this foliage type before.
Yeah.
Is that what that's called? Escallonia?
It roots so easily from cuttings, and also you can cut it back like this, and it will very quickly have micro buds all over it. And this is one I'm doing a sort of nursery plant to bonsai series. I'm going to show you 4 incredible dawn redwoods. Oh. That's a cutting from one of them. They're not showing off at their best. I've learnt that to keep them at their best, they like to stay damp.
Wow.
Damp, wet feet.
That's a really big dramatic bend, and I like how it almost looks like it has legs.
I've had this since 2014.
Did you put this bend in it yourself, or was this...
The bend was there, none of the branches were. That was made from the cuttings from it. Another dawn redwood here. Again, it's not necessarily the usual shape you'd expect, because most of the time you see dawn redwoods, there's like 11 or 12 dead straight in a little forest group. I hate those. I find them so boring. And then what I find by keeping them in the water, this is the first year I've had them in the water all the time, not getting any of the browning off. I mean, look at the fine foliage on these. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. You've got that slight rusty, and all I'm waiting for now is for that signpost when shoots start to go reddy brown. And once they go reddy brown, that's when you can prune. This has been regrown from basic, so I did originally cut all these right back. You can cut these so hard back, and then it'll just send out shoots further and further back down the trunk. See an example there.
I really love the shape on this tree. Even, you know, I'm not really the biggest fan of twin trunks, but with this one, it really works.
That overall, it's
strong.
It's
the overall shape.
It looks strong.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of azaleas.
Hasn't flowered for 2 years, but when it, in fact, no, it flowered last year.
Oh, right.
Lovely, lovely. That had pink and white flowers on it. And I say, out of that, I made some cuttings. The £50 bonsai challenge. I don't think I bought the weeds with it, but what originally did is it was an American challenge, and we were challenged in July, which wasn't an optimum time for buying, repotting, and creating stuff. So I thought I'd pick an azalea, so I could do repots on it. And I was a bit too optimistic, and the original challenge azalea died, and they're all in there beautifully. And I can just imagine that in a few more years when it's higher and there's going to be flowering everywhere. This is all I've done is drilled a couple of holes in the bottom. Yeah. And it's actually a bottom tray for a normal ceramic pot. But I love doing something creative and different. There is this big hawthorn here, isn't there? It's absolutely overgrown now, but this was just a straightforward stump.
And the bark on that's already really mature.
And I cut it, and I think it's a big thing to say. A lot of people get scared or afraid or worried when they first start about how much you can take off. And I've always said, if I'd known 20 years ago, the answer is as much as you possibly can. My trees would have been so much of a different state. You really can. If they're healthy roots, the best thing to do is to take as much branch off as you can, start with stump, and then just grow the branches. And that's what I'm slowly doing with this, regrowing. And I've got 2 or 3 videos on this one showing it when it was originally a stump, cutting it back and then regrowing it.
Thank you very much for the tour of your garden, Xavier.
No,
amazing.
It's wonderful to be able to share it. And the good thing about sharing this with yourself, Adam, is that I get reminded of how many trees I still need to look at.
And there you guys have it. On that, I'm going to end off this video right here. I just want to say a big massive thank you to Xavier for actually taking me around his garden, telling me the stories of some of his trees, and the very fact that most of his trees have actually been built by Xavier from scratch, I find is just absolutely inspirational, and you guys can do it too. If you haven't already, go over and subscribe to Xavier. It is at Xavier's Bonsai Retreat. Remember to leave a like on this video. It really helps the channel out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and let us know down in the comments what you thought of Xavier's trees and his garden. If you would like to support me and the things that I do on this channel, like traveling over to different bonsai creators, hit the thanks button down below, or if you'd like to become a channel member, hit the join button. That way you will get early access to new videos before they go out to everyone else, and you will get access to membership posts. But on that, thank you so very much for watching.